Assalamu alaikum to everyone और थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर ज्वाइनिंग। मेरे साथ जो हैं वो डॉक्टर शऊद साहब हैं, वो इस सेशन को मॉडरेट करेंगे। आई थिंक हम वी हैव लाइक सम एट पीपल, हम एक आदमी वेट कर लेते हैं विद परमिशन ऑफ मोहसिन साहब।
ठीक है जी।
Thank you very much. So we will wait for some minutes, 1 minute maybe, or maybe we can start. I think people will join at that time. So once again, officially, thank you very much, Sir Mohsin, to be here. And thank you for the audience to join this webinar. So first, I will give some intro for Mohsin Saab. Mohsin Shah is a qualified engineer, holds an MBA and MCIPD from CIPD UK, a senior certified professional from SHRM USA, and has an experience of 26 years in HR, compliance, business process, re-engineering, and ethics management. He is currently leading the HR sustainability communication portfolio at Spire Textiles, living by the motto of giving voice to values. He is also a certified coach and is involved in enhancement of higher education in Pakistan as a member of Government Higher Education Accreditation Award Committee. So thank you very much. And for the audience, if you have some question during the presentation, you can send your questions in the chat. And at the end of the presentation, we will have some question answer session. So thank you, and over to you, sir.
So thank you, Shahood Saab and Dr. Muzammil Saab and everyone. So welcome on board, Ji. Thanks for giving this opportunity. थोड़ी सी एक चीज मैं सिर्फ मेंशन कर देता हूँ, लिटिल बिट बिकॉज ऑफ स्मोक मेरा थोड़ा सा थ्रोट इन्फेक्टेड है, तो मे बी you might get some disturbance, little bit cough during this session, but I'll try not to bother the flow and we'll move on. So let's start. I think this topic is not new to us. We all know, we talk a lot about compliance, sustainability, and a lot of other associated words to it. And let's look at some of the very stalking or very dangerous statistics across the globe. For example, 1.18 degrees Celsius temperature rise has been observed in 1880. We all know what calamities have been going around. Pakistan has recently faced a major calamity. One of the reasons which is being given to this is environment and climate change or global warming across the globe. And it has created havoc. There are pandemics, etc., blah, blah, blah. So without going too much into it, let's move to Pakistan. Pakistan is the 5th most climate stressed country. We are also the 3rd most water stressed country, and also not performing too well in terms of our Human Development Index, and are lower than other South Asian economies. If we look at the global textile industry and sustainability, the changes are that somehow textile is 1/5 contributor to polluted water. There are more than 20,000 chemicals used, which makes it a very challenging place of work for all of us who are associated with it. And approximately 8% of emissions to the environment are contributed by textile industry. While this is there, which makes it a very challenging workplace, sector, industry, or a place to be in these days, there are a lot of modern trends which are coming up. There's a huge trend. We all know that customers, consumers, and our buyers are looking for organic materials, materials which are less deterrent to the environment. There is a rising trend of circular business, circular economy. We listen or hear this word again and again. Then a lot of talk is going around ethical business, ethical manufacturing, which sustainability, and then with that comes the word sustainability. Then we also hear a lot about diversity, inclusion, and all of these things are coming from the customers as well as the societies we live in. And that makes to me the topic which I will try to share what my uh, knowledge around this is and what my experience about this in my textile organization has been, or what I have read about it, is it makes the times challenging but very interesting also. So there's a huge load of opportunity which lies in front of us, through which people who are associated with textile industry can actually make a difference, can actually create that difference which our community, society, and human beings are actually looking for moving forward in future. Generally, we have three types of impacts as far as I want to classify them. We have emissions, which have doubled in last 5 years. That's based on a survey. Waste, which is 60 million kilograms as per my knowledge, and water, which is also wasted up to 110,000 million cubic meters of water annually, which are again very challenging numbers to be associated with. So what I would now try to share with all of you, what has worked for us, what is generally a simplified model, and how do we then move on to all of these things. Before we do that, I just wanted to share a few other trends which I got them, because a lot of our products are actually then given to retail brands like Tara and H&M and other major IKEA, etc. So so as per a latest survey, there are certain trends or things which have been emerging, because in the retail environment जिसका कुछ ना कुछ हमें भी जरूर impact आता है, or we have to be ready or prepared for that. So one of the big trend which has come out there is that our global consumers are actually asking for more transparency. They want to be more aware about our practices, our numbers, our way of work, our SOPs, our processes, the way we create these products, etc. That's a very rising trend, particularly for Generation Z. This is something which they pay huge importance to. Then one more thing has increased because of new technologies, is that now there are multiple touch points, not like 20-25 years ago, when at least I started my career, or a couple of other people who are probably on this call started off. There were very few touch points, but now because of this, you have numerous touch points which pushes you to be more responsible, more answerable, and more transparent. The third is that there are multiple channels of sales. We all know that online, even in Pakistan, has grown by double digit. All textile clothing manufacturers, their sales grew online in double digit. Khadi, Sapphire, Ideas, Alkaram, etc., etc. And that's a rising trend. People are online. They want to connect with manufacturers and their channels on multiple channels, including one big channel, which is digital. And then supply chains are also being revamped. Particularly, COVID laid different types of challenges on the entire supply chain, logistics chains, etc. And that brings us to that how important or inevitable this topic is to work on. From this, I will just move on to, whenever we hear about sustainability, still a lot of people talk about compliance, and then they get confused about that. Are they one and the same thing? Are they different? What is the difference? How are they linked? Should we do compliance or should we do sustainability? So what literature says is that compliance is actually complying to regulations, certain requirements, and generally a reactive approach. But sustainability is much bigger than that. It's a proactive approach and compliance is a part of sustainability, which is then looking towards the end, looking at what our consumers are asking for, and then redesigning the whole model of operations, business and manufacturing, etc., marketing, sales, the people side of it, it's in a very cost effective, strategic and long term manner, and then delivering what is of value, what is circular, what is uh, acceptable to all types of legislative bodies, consumers, and watchdogs or other type of things who have a say in this consumer society which we live in. तो वो पूरा जो मॉडल है, वो पूरा का पूरा जब सबको सब चीजों को totality में देखा जाए तो that to me is sustainability, and compliance is a very key ingredient part of it, because वो आपको help कर रहा होता है छोटे छोटे steps लेने में, ensure करने में, और उसके बाद it becomes a bigger step. Let's move on to, so what worked for us is essentially a 3-step approach which I use, and the first step here is what I call it is as a DNA or a mindset. So sustainability, to my experience, wherever it has not worked in totality, is it has always been taken as a project in those organizations. While this is not a project, it entails a lot of projects, small things. Example, wastewater handling could be one project. Energy efficiency could be another project. Capacity building of our employees to actually live sustainability or up to the requirements of certain compliances or certifications is one project. But combining all of them, living by all of them, and that too, not to just put up a tick mark that yes, we have done it and it's done, rather forecasting that if we don't do it, how our, first of all, our workplace is going to get impacted by it. Then people who live around our workplace can get impacted by it. Then the society, the future generation, and by and large, the world is going to get impacted by it. And then if you start doing those small projects, initiatives with that greater good in mind, then that's something which is called sustainability. And that is required. Moving beyond your own self, thinking about the future generation, planet, and then designing what do we need to do today to actually reap the benefit, maybe when we are not even alive, is something which is the first thought process which should go into any sustainable, right, sustainability model. So that's what our first step is. Then the second one, which I feel is equally important, is driving collaboration and synergy. Unfortunately, a lot of sectors, industries, they don't talk to each other. I have a same problem. 10 other textiles are actually facing that same problem, but I do not want to actually learn from them. I do not want to connect with them. मुझे डर लगता है वो क्या समझेंगे, इतनी बड़ी कंपनी है, 75 साल से एग्जिस्ट करती है या 50 साल से एग्जिस्ट करती है, यही नहीं पता. तो वो फियर जो है, फियर ऑफ ओपनिंग अप, फियर ऑफ बीइंग ट्रांसपेरेंट, fear of actually learning from other stops me, and that's what I'm calling it as a mindset, that before we start actually working on some of the hardcore projects which bring these changes, we need to actually have that mindset, greater good, then high level of synergy and collaboration, at least within the sector, within the players of that sector, within the extended supply chain. That's what I meant. Then by continuity, what I want, and that's the third ingredient of any sustainable mindset, is that it should not be a project. It should be something जो आप long term कर सकें, जो repeatable हो, जो replicable हो. Example, बहुत सारे इधर लोग ऐसे होंगे जिनकी एक प्लांट वीविंग का एक प्लांट है तो 6 प्लांट वीविंग के हैं. इसी तरह स्टिचिंग के 6 प्लांट हैं. कहीं पे एक कोई अच्छी प्रैक्टिस हो गई तो क्या वो सब जगह पे हम रेप्लिकेट कर पाते हैं? क्या वहाँ की लीडरशिप, वहाँ के एचआर के लोग, वहाँ के जो दूसरे लोग हैं वो इतने ओपन हैं कि जी ठीक है, अगर हमारी एक प्लांट ने एक चीज कर ली है तो लेट्स continue that good practice, and let's not waste time on reinventing the wheel. If it has been tested in this type of a management culture, let's learn and move forward. Let's, or maybe add on to something, but उसको happily accept करके continue करें और आगे लेके चलें. So इसको अगर मैं कहूँ, sum up करूँ quickly, तो पहला स्टेप मेरे हिसाब से जो सस्टेनेबिलिटी और पर्टिकुलरली टेक्सटाइल्स के लिए सस्टेनेबिलिटी में रिक्वायर्ड है, वो है to have a sustainable mindset, which to me constitutes of 3 things: high level of synergy and collaboration, something for greater good, not for just a certification, and ways and means where it becomes your DNA, and it's done on a continuous structured process manner, not a once-off event. So that's the first step I wanted to share with you. The second is then what I found out, क्योंकि जैसे आप देखें अगर हम learn करें जो higher level की change management जब भी drive होती है तो we talk about that we need to have a vision, we need to have a mission, and then align our corporate objective tactics towards that. So what I learned when we started formally working on sustainability is that we need to have the same approach. We need to lay down certain principles before we start working on projects. So all the activities are actually in a rigorous manner, structured manner, aligned with all these type of principles, and we take them forward with more rigor, more replicability, and collaboration. So some of the principles which I think have worked for other organizations, this is an example from my company. At the end, I will also share one example from an international organization, very successful sustainable textile or fashion brand across the world also. But हमारे लिए जो चीज work की है, first again is collaboration within the organization, all functions, all factories together. Then certain partnerships, people who are expert in it. For example, if I talk about CSR, there are other organizations who are better at building sustainable living, poverty elevation more than me. So I need to actually partner with them and then move on. That's the first principle. The second is that we should be actually identifying with a can do attitude and mindset, that what is the customer or the future asking from us? Is it net zero on one hand, or is it circularity on the other, or maybe both? So have a proactive approach that before something is dented, something is wasted, let's find out what the future is asking for us from our sector, our business, and then start working on those projects which really matter. The third is data. I actually realized when I started working on it is that there are loads and loads of data present in different manufacturing facilities of one company, one group. But because we don't have a mechanism to actually put them on a certain system somewhere, so we don't actually reap the full benefit out of that data. Currently, we started using Excel, pivot tables, etc. for it, and started putting together all our 11 units data into certain clusters and things, and it made, alhamdulillah, great sense. So that's the third principle I would suggest, and it has worked for us. And the fourth one, because जितने भी आप ये system उठा लें, SDG के goals की बात होगी, सस्टेनेबिलिटी को यूनाइटेड नेशन ग्लोबल कॉम्पैक्ट प्रिंसिपल्स या एसडीजी गोल्स के अलावा कंप्लीट नहीं किया जा सकता, उन सब में ह्यूमन एलिमेंट आता है. So the fourth principle we adapted was it that we actually want to bring a culture of empathy, a deep concern for our environment, which is not just a tick in the box or just done for one certification or multiple certifications, but actually to make the environment clean, to actually let the people breathe clean air around our factories, the societies we live in, etc. So that's again, so based on these four principles, then we need to, what I wanted to share is to design our further activities project. अब ये इस तरह आप mindset को align कर लें, इस तरह के principles सामने रख दें, तो मुझे ये feel हुआ, या मैंने जो वर्क होते हुए अपनी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में देखा कि ये चीजें बड़े अच्छे तरीके से ड्राइव होती हैं. People are aligned, efforts are coordinated, and we are pushing and pulling each other towards one goal, which is to make Sapphire one of the best sustainable workplaces across Pakistan first and then across the globe. So that's the second step I would suggest in this journey. And then the third step is definitely, because आपको एक framework चाहिए काम करने के लिए, आपको कहीं पे अगर अपनी ही motivation के लिए चाहिए कि जी ठीक है, so where do we stand in terms of comparison with other similar organizations in Pakistan or across the globe. So we have a sustainable development goals framework which has more than 150 trackers which are KPIs. So that's what we did. We identified कि जी सारे 17 के 17 शायद हमें फॉरेन काम करने की जरूरत नहीं है, but let's pick up which goals are more relevant to us. And then how did we started working on it is that Sapphire has a history of doing CSR for long, and we wanted to maintain it. We wanted to keep contributing towards it. So we classified these 17 goals into two clusters for our own benefit and the way to hover the management thought process around it. और उसमें से एक हमने ग्रुप बना दिया कि ये CSR से रिलेटेड हैं, इनको हम हमेशा CSR के एंगल से भी देखेंगे, और इनके KPI और ट्रैकर जो हम मेजर कर रहे हैं या नोट कर रहे हैं उनको CSR की आय से देखेंगे, और जो बाकी हैं वो हमारे वर्क, नेचर ऑफ इंडस्ट्री, सम ऑफ द कस्टमर्स रिक्वायरमेंट्स, etc. हमारे लिए प्रायोरिटी एरियाज हैं सॉरी और वो आपके जी ये मुझे मैं भी रियलाइज कर रहा हूँ कि जी मैं आई कैन कंटिन्यू विद उर्दू बट मुझे लगा था कि आपने शायद कोई इंटरनेशनल अगर लोग बुलाए हुए हैं साथ तो बट वट एवर यू सजेस्ट अगर आप मुझे शहूद या डॉक्टर मुजम्मल साहब बता दें तो मैं उर्दू में ही कैरी कर लूंगा और नो आई हैव अ message that there are certain people who are in English so please bear with me I'll continue with English and wherever required I'll emphasize 1 or 2 points in interview so participants who are only English speaking sorry for that there would be certain points which I have to say in Urdu for majority of the participants but I'll make sure that I use both the languages wherever required. So that's what it is. So that's how we prioritize them and then took our journey forward. So in next few slides, I'll just share with all of you that then how did we did and how did we move forward after our this few drafting of these 4 steps. The fourth step was that once we are clear on which SDGs, which KPIs to be measured, tracked, and shared with our factories, and they have to be taking ownership of some of the areas which are actually happening in the factories. Some are happening in the extended supply chain, and some here at head office. So we then put up our Sapphire Textile Mills SDG Action Agenda for 2030 and divided them into these 4 topics, which are sustainable materials, environmental sustainability, employee well-being, and then supply chain transparency. And then, as per the previous slide, chalked out which SDG is actually relevant to which area, and then are currently in a phase where we have put targets and KPIs factory-wise and then maybe product-wise, and then are now putting up a mechanism to track them on monthly basis. And probably by the end of this year, that's an ambitious target, but what we will do is to actually have goals for 2030 very clearly articulated around each of these 4 categories and subcategories of SDGs. The work is in progress. It's being done these days very actively and will be up and final by the end of this year and will be given to work upon by all of us by the start of next year. With this, we move on to then how we are doing it. So what we decided for our, which worked for our organization was to put up an internal scoring and monitoring tool. As a first step, we actually for last 2 years were formally collecting data across all those key critical SDG goals and KPIs. Then we reviewed them, had our own internal review, critique, and then findings out of those data. Then we made a final report, which was shared with management and the key heads of all manufacturing facilities. They were given an opportunity to actually right size certain data, which was the case when you captured them for the first time. It could be a cumbersome job. Some things are not captured correctly in the right essence and spirit. Collectively, we corrected them, tweaked them, and then started working on them. The strategy which we wanted to use for now was to pilot it into 2 of our plants out of the 9 manufacturing facilities, see how do they go. And by the mid of next year, 2023, we will roll out with all the learnings from these 2 pilot plants to the rest of the organization. That's where we are right now. The action plan is being crafted these days. The target is mid-November. And after that, it will be again be reviewed by our sustainability team at head office, including the management. And then formal work will initiate on each and every target moving forward. That's where we stand today. Just a very quick glimpse of that. Actually, sustainability in our organization formally started off earlier, and in September 2018, where we actually launched when we launched our first wind farm plant. That's in our DNA. We are doing a couple of other initiatives in this area. So that's where we started off. And then there are certain milestones. The recent one is again that we have put up certain rigor into certain things like digitization, data, net zero, and gender balance also in our organization, and that's what we are working for. One of the accomplishment our team has recently achieved is that we got a runner-up in the UNGC Sustainability Award for 2022, where we actually participated for the first time, but we were very happy that we got recognized, and we stood number 2 in amongst the large textile sector organizations. If I just share with you certain initiatives which we are already working on with following all these 5 steps, where we because it was not a green field from 2018, this organization exists for more than 5 decades. So there are, and the mindset was already there. So we had already achieved a couple of things. If I talk about solar energy, we have an installed capacity of 500 kilowatt hours, which actually helps us to offset almost 18,500 tons of carbon emissions. We have a wind power facility which we are giving in the national grid, and that helps us to also give clean energy to almost 7,000 households in underprivileged areas of Sindh province. By our carbon sequestration initiatives, we have planted more than 10,000 trees, which then has helped us to approximately offset 1,000 tons of carbon emissions. And we are also doing a lot of smart energy efficiency initiatives at our plants. Examples are scrubbers and multi-cyclones for emission controls, heat recovery boilers, LED lights, daylight saving. One of our plant is, I think, in the 3 months time, which is our stitching and main export plant, will be on 100% solar energy in just 3 months time. That's a big initiative. We are very happy for it. It has used certain very modern ways of leveraging solar into the plant. And then we are reaping a lot of benefits because of this. If I just move forward and talk about circularity and emission control at Sapphire, we launched a project. We have a copyright on this. This was our initiative. We have a project called Restore, where we approximately 15,000 tons of recycled cotton is produced per year, and it's one of the state-of-the-art recycling textile waste closed loop plant we have. Our retail actually launched a program by the name Little by Little, and again with the ambitions of circularity and emission control. When we launched it, we actually gave seed-infused shopping bags made from 100% cotton waste at our facilities to consumers, where it was, one was circularity and the other was to plant a tree also. And then we also recently did an initiative called Revive the Thread, where we started collecting damaged or waste clothes from our customers. We gave them an incentive to submit it, and on our retail stores, we segregated them, which clothes which could be refurbished for reuse. I think they were around 500 odd pieces. We donated them to underprivileged communities in collaboration with a Hoover, and which could not be used were then brought into our recycling plant and converted back into fiber. We also did an initiative where we made fabric out of PET bottles, and we are doing a lot for future. And circularity, emission control, sustainability to me has started ingraining in our mind. It's becoming our DNA, and that is why me and my teams and our factory teams, compliance teams across the factories, they have put loads of efforts to actually make all of this happen. And I really wanted to acknowledge and recognize their efforts, because we generally are at head office. We just craft strategy and help them actually pull all of these things on site. If I just move on and just share with you that we have an RO plant installed, which has also helped us recycle water. We are working on fossil fuel. We are generating electricity, packaging. So you can just imagine, we have a lot of other initiatives which help us move towards becoming a more sustainable organization. We have done a lot, but I feel that there is a lot of white space. We can do many initiatives, and that's what the program and plan was before I shared with you. This is just a snapshot for you on in terms of our environmental sustainability just from the last year. 1342 trees planted in 1 year, 2% recycled material, 16% sustainable material consumption, water recycled, 46% certified sustainable and preferred material used, and chemicals are certified again. So these are connected to our SDG goals, and we are doing these initiatives and many more. These are some of the future goals. Some of them are already in pipeline, will be materialized in next 2-3 months. Example, and the rest I've already talked about. So the one thing which my team member Usma, probably she's also on the call, has worked on is 20% paper used in our office environment, where we have, again, using data, have made it transparent. Whenever you open your HRMS, every individual can actually see how many paper he or she has printed in last 1 month. What is the target per year? Is she or he green, amber, yellow? And that makes, so that's now slowly and gradually using data, some interesting animations is creeping into our culture, which has actually helped us uh, move forward to it. These are some of the materials, sustainable consumption materials which we use. If I move on, just to give you a glimpse of our CSR, we divide them into 4 letters. Health, we have done a couple of initiatives like building and upgrading pediatrics ward at Jinnah Hospital, Lady Dufferin Hospital, something to do with rural women, etc. And a lot of initiatives. That's a continuous effort. There are Abdullah Foundation drives, other group companies do, and our factories sometimes do additional activities in this regard. In terms of education, we are also working on multiple things. But recently, we have started certain scholarships on digital education, which is people who pursue software or allied education from FAST, NUST, or other institutions. We have partnered with Orange Tree Foundation and have been giving them scholarship for their education, and it's been working well. And we have plans to invest further onto it to actually scale up the education level on targeted areas in Pakistan. If I talk about women empowerment, we have done loads of initiatives at our retail plant. Then we are doing a lot of things that based on our factories at head office, including girls' education, uh, enhancing awareness about certain vital topics. But that's, again, this is way to go. A lot of things have to be done further into it, and we will definitely move forward in this ambit also. Rural development is also, as I shared, that we have installed solar panels into household. The aim is to scale it up and take it forward. Then SIR retail unit has been supporting local artisans to promote their art, etc., and preserve art, culture, and history. That's part of a regular program by them and led very successfully by them. Now, so that was all about Sapphire Textile. I have been looking at certain questions, but I'll take them later in last 15 minutes. The last few minutes I just wanted to spend on that. While this is all there, while I think that Sapphire Textile and a lot of other organizations in Pakistan are on the right track, there are great organizations like Artistic, Interloop, Surti, Feroz, and Nishat, and a couple of them who are doing initiatives and moving forward on it. But there are certain interesting disruptors which I came across. Example, there's a trend to make fiber from coral and oyster shells. Now that puts our R&D, our product development into very diverse and different type of mindsets. These are 3 examples right in front of you, which the world is looking forward to. And I think that Pakistan has the talent and potential to actually join these type of initiatives. That's more and more required. That's the only purpose I have put it there, that the word in textile has been speedily answering challenging questions. Are we? We can. Definitely, Pakistan has immense potential. The only thing I feel missing is collaboration. So collaboration towards R&D bodies from NTU, TIP, or certain other bodies, and textiles need to do these type of things. They make us further remarkable in this whole arena. Another very interesting example when we talk about circularity is renting clothes. Because whenever we talk about circularity, the biggest challenge is fast fashion. There are organizations across the globe who actually launch more than 100 seasons in a year, which actually creates that pull into a customer that if there is a new season of a garment, I should be spending some amount on it. And I think that's the mindset shift which needs to change. This is one very good example. That's again a disruptor in the clothing industry, where this particular organization in US launched a renting of expensive clothes in order, and that has a benefit definitely that when you don't dispose those clothes and their life becomes longer, the so, sorry, environmental impacts definitely become better, the condition becomes better. That's another disruptor. And why these examples were put here was to tingle our thought. We all need to think in these directions as a textile sector of Pakistan and take it forward. Now, I just wanted to very quickly flash another example. I love this organization. I've read a lot about it. This is an organization whose famous brands are Gucci and Saint Laurent and blah, blah, blah. If you look at this slide, this one quote is, "Our ambition to be the world's most influential luxury group in terms of creativity." Right after creativity, the CEO talks about sustainability. And then financial performance. And that's what I was calling it as the mindset. If you look at it on the right side, perhaps my mistake, it's the slides are a little bit blur, but on this extreme right box, which says -41, very important indicator which they gauge or measure is environmental profit and loss. And that comes with data which is captured in this manner. So this organization is doing absolutely marvelous with whatever data they capture. And then they have converted it into a very effective number, which then makes sense to investors, stakeholders, decision makers, which is environmental profit and loss. And I'm sure a lot of people might be knowing about it, but I am a new student to this topic of sustainability. I love this indicator, and I think that we all need to maybe taking help from institutions like NTU and other prestigious bodies. We all need to maybe now start looking into how do we now capture data in this regard, because this number I think will move our internal people, our customers, as well as decision makers. This is something which makes huge sense. That's an example by an international company. If you look at them, this is how they actually then make targets out of all these numbers, and then they are doing uh, very good in terms of this. This is their circularity model. Moving forward, this is another very interesting index which I came across, and I think we need to work on it. If you look at it, Kering is actually the second best performer in terms of this index. This is the Business of Fashion Sustainability Index. The items are very interesting. It's emissions, it's transparency, it's water and chemicals, it's materials, and it's also worker rights and waste. So they have a mechanism from where when they gather all these indicators from organizations, they give them an index which tells them that this year a particular organization have actually performed in terms of sustainability to this quantum and extent. And why I feel this is important is that there is an old saying which says that what gets measured gets managed. So without these data and certain indices or numbers, it's very difficult in an organization to actually transform or move or change people. This gives us, though this sometimes has a tendency to mislead us and take us into the wrong direction, but right indicators, right type of things worked upon and then quantified and given back to the people, the decision makers, the change agents, the people who are responsible for various activities across the value chain to your partners, to your vendors, makes the whole difference. I really like this index. We are not working right now on it, but I think that this could be in addition to SDG indicators. There is a lot of data already available there, but this also might be helpful because all the great organizations, if you look at this list, a lot of Pakistani textiles are actually vendors to them. They are taking products from us and then showcasing their sustainability in this manner. So that's the reason I included this. That may be another thought which I wanted to leave all of us with, that it's the data and then interesting measures which makes the whole difference, like sustainability index by BOF or the environment profit and loss, etc., etc. There could be other interesting index which you might already be working on, which I'm not aware about. So that's what I had to say, Ji. So if I have to summarize, I think the journey starts with the right mindset, involving all the key stakeholders in highest level of collaboration, then putting data around it, quantifying that data into something, indicators or measures which make sense, which have the mechanism to move you, to transform you, to make you excited and really work on them. And then benchmarking yourself towards or with the best of the best. And then forums like these, sharing knowledge, learning from others, and getting the good practices to be more transparent, more openly shared amongst us, and take this industry to me to its real potential and to its real level. So that's what I had to say. I'll stop off and maybe take some comments and questions, Ji. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your all this in presentation and so much informative lecture. So once again, if you want to ask some question, you can write in a chat and we will try to give you all answers. So what I can see now in the chat, there are two questions. What sort of technology STML is using for wastewater recycling? And have you included the emission generated in the production of solar panel while calculating the emission reduction?
So let me answer the second one first. Unfortunately, I am not aware about, well, I'm not able to recall what type of technology is it done for, because I think I have to get that answer from our factory teams. Sorry for that. But as far as emissions are concerned, yes, we are including whatever ways and means of calculating emissions in it. Again, I think solar panel emissions are part of it also.
Okay. So we have some more question from Dr. Shoaib Ahmed Saab. They are asking about nanotechnology and like it can be used in the sustainability or something like this.
So if I had to just share upon it, I think what I have read in the material, yes, it is possible. Sapphire, I think we are not using it right now, and so that's what I think. Yes, it can be used. Rather, I was reading that day that a lot of AI developments, which is artificial intelligence, metaverse related to sustainability, particularly in manufacturing, has been also developed. There are organizations which are working on it, but as far as I know, I think we right now are not using it, but it's possible as far as I know. Then someone has asked, I think Ramsha Azim has asked scope 3 emissions. So scope 3 emissions, we have a plan around it. I think if I understand it correctly, you're talking about our extended supply chain. So whichever is out of the factory, we have a plan around it. We have done it at a smaller level, but we will be probably aligned with our SDG goals or the net zero emissions. This has to be done. There is a whole program for it also. So looking at some of the questions, I think I will request Shahood Saab and Dr. Shahood and Dr. Muzammil that though I did engineering, but I had actually left engineering more than 20 years ago and went into general management area. Some of the questions are technical. So we can maybe at a later stage, maybe can have programs around maybe on some of these common, like people have been asking on GHG accounting. So maybe we can have a seminar on that. We can call an expert, which I'm not right now. I just know the numbers which were given to me or passed on to me by my technical team, or again on how can we actually do or measure more on water cycle, recycling, etc. I would not be the best person to answer that. What technology, what type of machines? I'm not unfortunately that aware of it. I will also learn. But I think we can have a dedicated session on these topics where we can call experts, engineers who actually work on them and maybe take their views and share multiple best practices on it. Maybe we can do that later on, Ji. So I'm sorry for that. I might not be able to answer certain technical things. Whatever I know, I have already shared with you.
So thank you very much, sir. It's like it was a wonderful session. We have like some questions from audience, but like I just want to ask a bit about Pakistan textile sector readiness, because at the moment I think the general understanding of Pakistan textile industry about sustainability and compliance is not up to that mark. What customers are expecting, what they are looking for. So how you will like comment about this, that can we like meet the deadline of 2025 when there will be a lot of regulations will be in place?
So if you ask me, I think that as an industry, my answer is no. I think that there is a lot to do. There are a lot of things which are not being currently done. It's a huge challenge. This sector, the way it is portrayed or projected or maybe looked upon, I don't think that people in Pakistan actually have an idea of how big textile and up to some level, sometimes how disorganized this sector in totality is. So because you're asking about the whole sector, I think we are not ready. There is a lot to do. And steps like these, where you started calling people to actually start sharing things, maybe accepting what they do good, accept what they don't do good, and learn from others, are steps in the right direction. But if you ask about certain organizations, maybe 2025 would be too soon. It's just round the corner. But I think by 2030, some of the big organizations, big contributors of textiles, for example, let's take just as a reference point the top 20 exporters of textiles. They might be ready up to a larger extent because all of them, as far as I know, are putting huge initiatives. Not only initiatives, what is good about these days is that they are investing on resources, which requires money and their time. So they are what I see, the new generation, the new leadership in these new big textile groups all across are very serious. They think sustainability is serious business. They think developing human resources, developing these capacities and capabilities is serious business. So they have started putting money as well as other resources around it, which makes me a little bit more optimistic that inshallah, God be willing, we will be able to do up to a larger extent, at least people who contribute to 80% of our export by 2030. That's what I think.
Assalamu alaikum.
Ji, walaikum assalam.
So from
I'm
audience, we
Dr.
have Dr. Shoaib with us. So I think he want to ask one or two questions. So Dr. Shoaib, sir, I think we
Uh,
should continue in English. We have some like
okay, I can read this, no
some.
problem at all. I am Dr. Shoaib Imran, working for the nanotechnology in Pakistan in different field. Already visit NTU Karachi. Highly appreciated your efforts and your instrumentations and the laboratories. There's a great pleasure for the Pakistan. That's proud. This is a proud for the Pakistan. This NTU is working for the highly qualified, highly experienced innovations and development in Pakistan. If you feel any innovations regarding the nanotechnology and the graphene technology, my team am here for you to introduce in the textile sector as well. We have already done nanotechnology in the oil and gas field, personal care cosmetics, paints, printing ink. Now is introducing the digital printing ink for the textile. If you feel any query, any development for the Pakistan, I will be here for you. Mazdoor Sahab, highly appreciate your presentation and your work for the Pakistan as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shoaib, sir. I think there are some people who are interested, so they will be in touch with you. Back to the Mohsen Saab. Sir, like of course on compliance side we are the people are working a lot, but about the material, circular materials, that is a totally new concept. So like did like Sapphire has developed some sort of department who is working on circular materials or new materials.
One minute. I'm not from the textile sector as well. I'm not from the textile industry.
So yes, to answer your question, Ji, we are doing two big initiatives in this regard. One is very common, but I think that's a great step in Pakistan, is that Sapphire has actually invested upon cultivating its own organic cotton. And that too in far-flung, underdeveloped areas with two purposes. One, that we will ultimately reduce our organic cotton imports, and then also develop those areas into which who were not harvesting or involved into agriculture before, and their uh, upbringing, etc., will also be done. As far as other materials are concerned, Sapphire Textile has an R&D function. It's again led by seasoned qualified professionals who have been working on development of certain materials, who are very environmental friendly, who have their lives longer, and have developed certain products out of it. Some of them are based because of on a customer requirement, so I might not be able to share a lot of detail in it, but we are investing in that area also a lot. And we have a proper function present in our organization who are working on development of new materials, particularly with the concept of circularity and longer life, and then environmental impact also.
So we have like one, two more question from audience. So we have a question that in context of proactive approach in sourcing material from multiple sustainable sources, can you give us an overview on how the whole process work at Sapphire? Are you guys reaching out to them or manufacturer approach you? So how do you work like?
So it's a mix of both of it. As I told you that yes, there are particularly I think, and that's not only for Sapphire. I think I feel that the textile sector in Pakistan is right now not totally there in a life cycle stage where they're fully proactive. So a lot of things are actually triggered by customers. So they push us, then we react, we start working on those type of things, and then learn and develop and then move forward. Then we start massive selling to other people also wherever we can. So it's a mix of both. Yes, sometimes the customer asks us, so we start looking for people, identify, and then they also give us references, etc. from because they already work on with global manufacturers out of Pakistan in economies like China and Vietnam and Bangladesh and India. So we get those references, and what I feel, if you recall in some earlier steps, I have mentioned some of the mindset items. So what I feel is that one key thing which has helped Sapphire is to actually take on board above average talent into place. So whenever you hire people who are pushy, who are hungry for knowledge, who actually go beyond their normal call of duty, we have those type of talent in various functions in our factories, in our compliance areas, and also in our R&D areas, who are proactively these days looking for these type of things to develop proactively certain things which have not been right now asked by customers. And maybe we can market them proactively to organizations before anyone else's does in our neighboring countries. So it's a mix of both.
So the next question is like a very common question everybody asks about that how we can convince our industry in general that while when we adopt the sustainable approach, it will be more cost effective. If we talk about in context of near future or far future. So how you will like uh, convince the industry that they must adopt this approach right now?
So that's an interesting question, and I think in my view, it's very easy to answer. There is no future without sustainability. So that's a very plain and simple answer. So people who do not adopt it now, who do not move on the learning curve in this topic now will be left out in future. It's just a matter of years. That's one. Now, if I talk about how do you convince or move decision makers, it's a very simple thing. I think a lot of products which you have asked, some people have asked about wastewater recycling. Yes, there is an investment in it, but what I observe that in every initiative like this, there is a hidden element of productivity improvement, some sort of wastage reduction, which helps in money terms to the organization also. And then the second is that feel good factor, which again can be measured these days. For example, is a employee engagement, the level of a person loving his or her organization, feeling good about, wow, what a great place to work in. They are doing so much for the society, so much for the environment, etc., and then making their productivity more and more. So what we do a lot of time is that it's and there comes the synergy and collaboration thing. Maybe I am good at actually identifying certain things, but my people who are teams who are working on these projects at the plant are good at another angle of it. When we both sit together, we are able to make a story out of it where we have numbers, the return on investment, and the other factors tied in together to feel more good about it. So I think that's the way. It's again what I would frankly say is that not always the case, but we have learned how do you tie in money element at times or the motivation or engagement element into it and then feel good about it and then move other decision makers to adapt. Maybe we have example like we have three spinning units. So one, if one does, the other two are pushed to do it, but with numbers. So it makes business case for them. That's why they only do it. That's why they commit to invest money and resources into otherwise they will not be never be convinced. It's their plant, their products are different, their customer range is different. So this is the way we have started doing it. Again, I will say it's way to go, but still we have observed good early signs of it, and that makes me or my team, an extended team, more motivated to work on it. And to your first questions, we will be definitely out if we don't start doing it today. There's no future.
Thank you very much, sir, for your time and a very insightful presentation. And of course, we need to understand this concept of sustainability and circularity. In future, there is, it has a potential of around 4.5 trillion US dollar. Like the circular economy has that much potential, but we have to understand how we can capitalize this potential. So with this, I will thank you all and Sir Mohsin Saab for your time and for that much work you have done for this beautiful presentation. I will be sharing with you the recording of this session, and also with the permission of Mohsin Saab, I will be sharing with you the PPT also. So thank you very much to everyone. In near future, I will be sharing with you the schedule of our next webinars and the knowledge sessions, everything like that. So thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Ji. It was good to interact with all of you. Best wishes in this journey, Ji. Allah Hafiz.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.